Welcome to An Evening with Dorothy Parker by Carol Marquart. I'm Carol Marquart. Dorothy wrote all of her life, but this particular stage reading is about her work during the 20s and 30s. As you know, the 1920s was the Roaring Twenties. It was the Jazz Age. It was a time of liberation, especially of women, if you were a woman, prosperity, the Depression hadn't hit yet, prohibition, but people drank anyway, and dissipation. F. Scott Fitzgerald called this the lost generation. And if I were to define Dorothy's central theme in these works in the 20s and 30s, I would do it in one sentence. Good things always turn out badly. Dorothy Parker is played by Harriet Lynn, and her two alternative voices from the past are Andrea McDonald and Fred Bologna. So without further delay, An Evening with Dorothy Parker by Carol Marquart.
Dorothy Parker.
Mrs. Dorothy Parker.
What kind of fresh hell is this?
We are. What should we call ourselves? Your inner voices.
My what? I don't like talking to myself.
But you are always talking to us. We try to get through to you.
We inspire you. We are your creative juices. And we always tell you the truth.
I don't want to know the truth. I would like a drink.
Well, you had a drink this morning, and it's the afternoon.
Oh, what time is it?
It's 8 o'clock.
A.M.?
No, p.m.
Oh, I must have taken a nap.
You always take a nap.
Oh, am I dreaming?
No, you're awake and sober.
Mrs. Parker, we feel it's time.
Time for what? To die? If I had any decency, I would have done that a long time ago. Oh, everyone else is dead. Robert Benchley, Hemingway, he shot himself. Oh, and Fitzgerald drank himself to death. Alan Campbell, my second husband, he died, and Eddie, my first.
Oh, no, it is not that time.
Well, what time is it?
It's 8 o'clock in the evening. This is the Vogue Hotel in New York City on East 42nd Street, apartment number 601, June 28th, 1965. It's time for you to write your memoirs.
I can't write.
Why not?
I can't sing.
Then put on your glasses.
Oh, it doesn't help.
All right, we'll take notes. Here's a question. Tell me about your childhood.
Oh, well, it wasn't any little house on the prairie.
Your screenplays. You know, A Star is Born. Almost won the Academy Award.
I never saw any of my films.
Your light verse.
Oh, it was a lot of doodads.
What about your famous short stories?
Listen, my dears, I did the best I
Your
could.
philosophy of writing.
Oh, Dr. Johnson always said anyone who writes does it for money.
Were you ever a communist? Were you ever blacklisted by the House of Un-American Activities?
I was not a communist. I was an anti-fascist. There's a difference.
How do you want to be remembered?
On a tombstone.
Daydreams. We'd build a little bungalow if you and I were one, and carefully we'd plan it so we'd get the morning sun. I'd rise each day at rosy dawn, and evenings cool, you spray the lawn. A little cookbook I should buy, your dishes to prepare. And though they came out black and dry, I know you wouldn't care. How valiantly I'd strive to learn, assured you'd not complain. And if my finger I should burn, you'd kiss away the pain.
I'd buy a little scrubbing brush and beautify the floors. I'd warble gaily as a thrush about my little chores. But though I cook and sew and scrub, a higher life I'll find. I'll join a little woman's club and glorify my mind. And if you and I were all one, my
Oh my
dear.
God, what a horrible poem. Who wrote that?
You did. We're reading it right out of the portable Dorothy Parker. It says Daydreams, 1916. The introduction says that you wrote 300-odd poems and free verse, dozens of short stories, mountains of essays, book and play reviews. In later life, you collaborated on screenplays, and you even wrote song lyrics for Broadway shows.
I don't remember that. I'm too old.
What do you mean you're too old? You're not even 71.
The way I look at it, you're either young or you're old. No, wait. That's not true. You're either young or you're dead.
But you're not dead.
Oh, well, I should be. Everybody else is dead. All my captains and kings, long departed.
So let me have the rouge again and comb my hair the curly way. The poor young men, the dear young men, they'll be here by noon today. So bring my scarlet slippers and fetch the powder puff to me. The dear young men, the poor young men, they'll think I'm only 70.
Oh, God, I wrote that when I was... Well, it was 1916. Oh, I was just a little Jewish girl trying to be cute.
Her mother was Scottish. Her father was J. Henry Rothschild. He owned sweatshops all over New York.
She was born in the West End, New Jersey, August 22nd, 1893. 2 months premature.
I was born a mongrel, half Jew, half Goy.
Her mother died when she was 5. In 1914, little Dottie's privileged life came to an end. No more private schools for her.
Oh, that was the year my father died. J. Henry Rothschild. I hated the son of a bitch. Oh, my 2 brothers and sister, all of us, no money after that. I was an unloved orphan. Would you believe I went to work playing piano at a dance studio, and I couldn't even read music. And then one day I wrote that poem, Daydream, and Mr. Crowninshield, editor of Vanity Fair, paid me $12. It was the beginning of my career.
A promising beginning for a nice little Jewish girl living in a boarding house in New York.
And then he hired me. Oh, I was just 23 years old. Mr. Crowninshield had me writing captions for ladies' underwear in Vogue magazine. I got my own apartment on West 71st Street. I wore tailored suits and wide-brimmed hats. Oh, and I even bobbed my hair.
A flapper, yes sir, one of those. Has anybody seen my gal?
I wrote things like, what does the chemise say to the petticoat? Brevity is the soul of lingerie.
You wrote cute little epigrams.
The sweeter the apple, the blacker the core.
Men seldom make passes at girls who wear glasses.
That's the only one anybody remembers.
The time is fleeting. Oh, shit.
Time heals all wounds.
But it doesn't make you prettier. 3 be things I shall never obtain. Envy, contentment, and sufficient champagne.
What is the difference between an enzyme and a hormone?
I give up.
You can't hear an enzyme moan,
But you can bring a horticulture.
but you can't make her think.
Oh, I never drink like a lady. 2 drinks, I'm under the table, and 3 drinks, I'm under the host.
She was the toast of 2 continents.
Greenland and Antarctica.
A man named Mr. Condé Nast. He hired me at Vanity Fair, and another man, Robert Benchley, was my managing editor. Mr. Benchley had a wife and children up in Scarsdale. He inspired me to write poetry.
Oh, life is a glorious cycle of song, a medley of extemporaneous, and love is a thing that will never go wrong. And I am Marie of Romania.
Well, after the war broke out, I married Edwin Palm Parker.
People who do things exceed my endurance. God, for a man who sells insurance. Did he sell insurance?
No, he was a Wall Street broker. His mother, up in Hartford, didn't like me because my last name was Rothschild.
Her mind lives in a quiet room, a narrow room and tall, with pretty lamps to quench the gloom and mottos on the wall.
There, all the things are waxen neat and set in decorous lines, and there are posies round and sweet, and little straightened vines. Her mind lives tidily apart from cold and noise and pain, and bolts the door against her heart, out wailing in the rain.
You see, I didn't make a very good wife, but I had Rabelaisian wit. Robert Benchley always said I was a cross between Lady Macbeth and Little Nell. Well, my husband, Edwin Parker, I called him Parky, got shipped off to France to fight in the French Allied culture offensive. All there was left for me was to have fun. Remember, this was the Roaring Twenties.
Boop boopy doo,
Night and daytime, always playtime. Ain't we got fun?
Shut up! Our office was on 19 West 44th Street, not far from the Algonquin Hotel, home of the famous Round Table. My two Roberts, Benchley and Sherwood, and a host of others, aspiring writers, journalists, singers, dancers, playwrights, musicians, and Renaissance men and women.
Or so they thought.
Douglas Fairbanks, Herbert Bayard Swope, Harpo Marx, Edna Ferber. Harold Ross, who founded the New Yorker magazine, Noel Coward.
Not exactly top drawer talent. Faulkner, Hemingway, Scott Fitzgerald were somewhere else writing serious stuff.
All afternoon, we would sit around with our cream chicken and popovers, cracking jokes about each other, making puns and double entendres. Oh, I learned how to pack a punch.
4 be the things I am wiser to know: idleness, sorrow, a friend, and a foe. 4 be the things I've been better without: love, curiosity, freckles, and doubt.
3 be the things I shall never attain: envy, content, and sufficient champagne. 3 be the things I shall have till I die: laughter and hope, and a suck in the eye.
Dinner at Jack and Charlie's Punching Club, and then on to Tony's Speakeasy. Grain alcohol with such imaginative names as gin, bourbon, rye, and scotch. Then on to jazz at the Savoy in Harlem, and then to Nisa McMean's art studio, where she would make wine in the bathroom. Oh, sometimes she would dance, and wearing only a hat while Irving Berlin was playing the piano. Then on to Polly Adler's ruffle for a nightcap.
She never had any cab fare.
But she always had enough for clothes, perfume, cigarettes, and Johnny Walker.
She didn't cook. She ate bacon right out of the package, raw.
She didn't do dishes, she just threw them away.
She drank whiskey sours in the morning.
That's a very good idea. Oh, yes. Normally I drink whiskey sours in the morning. It's my fruit of the day.
But it is evening.
And she's fresh out of whiskey sour
And
mix.
she never paid taxes.
Well, I tried. I stayed home all day on April 15th, but nobody came.
I heard a story once. When Dorothy Parker first met Claire Booth Luce at the front door of the home of Mrs. Herbert Swope, Mrs. Luce gestured to Dorothy to proceed first. Age before beauty, she said, at which time Dorothy Parker rejoined, pearls before swine.
That story is not true. Oh, the stories they make up about me. Anyway, I would often wake up with a hangover that belonged to the Smithsonian under glass. Oh, then Mr. Crowninshield offered me a job at Vanity Fair as drama critic. Huh. Oh, I hated the cheap commercialism of Broadway, but it was a job.
Vanity Fair, 1918. The cast consists of two virulent lovers who chase each other around the tables. I prayed the scenery would fall on them.
Vanity Fair, February 1919. This play holds the season record. 4 evening performances and a matinee. 5 performances too long.
March 1919. I would have enjoyed the play a great deal more if I had left the Vanderbilt Theater and gone out and stood in the middle of 47th Street.
Well, it wasn't all bad. I enjoyed Bernard Shaw and Eugene O'Neill. Oh, and I lavish praise on, Ethel Barrymore and, that sexy Leslie Howard. It's just that I wanted to write my own pieces, not just review someone else's stuff.
March 1919. In Fanny Hurst's Back Pay, the stagehands had to keep sweeping up periodic sentences, and actors had to climb laboriously over stacks of similes every time they made an entrance or exit.
December 1921. Miss McKay's best moments was when she was off stage.
Oh, suddenly everything crashed down upon me, and Mr. Crowninshield fired me as a drama critic.
I wonder why.
Well, Robert Benchley told me I should join Alcoholics Anonymous.
Did you?
I did. I thought they were wonderful people, but I never went back.
Why?
Oh, they told me I had to give up drinking. I'd go to the bar at Tony's. The bartender would ask, "What are you having?" And I'd say, "Not much fun." Huh. I was no longer that cute little Jewish girl.
I'm sick of embarking in dories upon an emotional sea. I'm weary of playing Dolores, a role never written for me.
I'll never again, like a cub, lick my wounds while I squeal with hurt. No more, I'll go walking in public, my heart hanging out of my shirt. I'm tired of entwining my garlands of weather-worn hemlock and bay. I'm over longing for lands. I wouldn't give that for Cathay.
My marriage to Edwin Parker was a disaster.
Ever a prey to coincidence, I always knew the consequence, always saw that the end would be, whereas nature has made us. Hence, I loved them until they loved me.
Actually, after Parker got back from the war, I lost him to alcohol and morphine. He went up to Hartford to live with his mother. And my affair with Charles MacArthur was another disaster. I lived in a cheap room, in a cheap hotel. Oh, this might have been the roaring 20s, but I wasn't making whoopee anymore. Oh, the men came in and out of my apartment like the Daily Mail.
Get it? She had terrible taste in men.
Lady, should you meet one whose ways are all discreet, one who murmurs that his wife is the lodestone of his life,
One who keeps assuring you that he never was untrue, never loved another one. Lady, better run.
And then I had to give away my dog, Woodrow Wilson. Oh, he was an Airedale, and he was given to me by my ex-husband.
he got too big. Dorothy's sofa was a whole meal.
The chintz-covered armchair, a light snack.
She was skating on dog shit.
She should have entered Woodrow Wilson in a horse show.
Then I got pregnant. The father was married to someone else, and he ran off with another woman who was not his wife, and I was still married to Parky.
Sounds complicated.
What a mess. Serves her right for putting all of her eggs in one bastard.
And then after that, I tried to kill myself. Oh, wait. First, I had an abortion, and then I tried to kill myself.
It wasn't the other way around.
Oh, first I ordered room service from the Swiss Alps restaurant. Oh, and then I went into the bathroom and slashed my wrist.
It was Eddie's old racer. Clean, but not very sharp.
She was discovered by the Swiss Alps restaurant.
Oh, Robert Benchley said that if I really wanted to kill myself, I wouldn't have ordered from the Swiss Alps restaurant. I told him next time I'll skip the room service and use a gun. Well, in the hospital, I entertained all my friends wearing bright blue ribbons around my wrists. 26. I finished my first book of poems, Enough Rope. I called it my black and blue period. Oh, yes, the theme was death, loss, and dissipation.
Unfortunate coincidence. By the time you swear you're his, and he vows his passion is infinite, undying, lady, make note of this. One of you is lying.
If wild my breast and sore my pride, I bask in dreams of suicide. If cool my heart and high my head, I think, how lucky are the dead.
The critics called it irreverent, hedonistic, flippant, impudent, decadent, witty, acerbic, passionate, droll, self-destructive, ironical, sour, sardonic, mordant, and damn depressing.
And a bit bitchy too.
Then one night, I took too many Veronal
Strike two.
on purpose.
Strike two. Veronal is a sleeping powder.
Robert Benchley came to her apartment and found her comatose. He said, if you're gonna keep doing this, you're gonna make yourself sick.
In the hospital, they put me in an oxygen tent, and I asked the doctor, can I have a flag for my tent? The doctor told me I was a manic depressive. I needed a psychiatrist.
Nonsense.
I should cut down on my liquor. He suggested I mix my scotch with club soda and ice and nurse it for the whole evening.
Nonsense.
But I decided I might as well live.
Razors pain you. Rivers are damp. Acids stain you. And drugs cause cramp. Guns aren't lawful. Nooses give. Gas smells awful. You might as well live.
Well, my psychiatrist told me my drinking was pathological. He told me to start writing again. And then after I got out of the hospital, I met a very interesting writer, an expatriate, visiting New York. His name was Ernest Hemingway. I told him I hated writing. It was too claustrophobic. He agreed with me. He said I should move to France. Everybody was doing it.
Well, did you?
I thought about it for a long time. I always ask myself, whenever I have to make a big decision, what would Abe Lincoln do?
He'd go to France.
Well, I went to France, and I took my latest admirer, Seward Collins, with me to help pay the bills. I stayed there 6 months. Ernest took Seward and me to Spain. Oh, Ernest loves Spain. I hated it. At the bullfights, I watched the bulls gore the mules and the horses until their guts, they were just poured all over the arena floor. I was horrified. Oh, in the streets, oh, the men would have the habit of pinching my ass. Oh, Ernest left his wife Hadley and ran off with a woman named Pauline, and I totally soured on Ernest Hemingway. He accused me of stealing his typewriter. Huh. So in Cherbourg, as I was leaving for New York on the USS Rotterdam, I threw my new typewriter overboard and nearly hit him in the head. Huh. When I returned to New York, Ernest sent me this mean little poem.
To the tragic poetess. Oh, thou with safety razor blade, a new one to avoid infection. Slit both thy wrists, the scars define detection. Who over Vernald and peered into the shade of that distant county from which born no traveler returns who hasn't been there, but always vomited in time. But you loved dogs and other people's children and hated Spain where they were cruel to donkeys and hoped the bulls would kill the matadors. You sneered your way through Aragon, Castile, and Andaluca. Spaniards pinched the Jewish cheeks of your plump ass in Holy Week in Seville, forgetful of our Lord and his passion. Return your ass intact to Paris to write more poems for the New Yorker.
When I got back to New York in 27, everyone wanted to know about Ernest Hemingway.
Does he talk the way he writes?
Yes, I said,
He talks the way he writes.
only like her. Ernest. All bullfighting, bull slinging, and bullshitting.
She was back in her suite at the Algonquin, into her old nocturnal habits, smoky cocktail parties, seeing revolting plays, drinking scotch with Robert Benchley at Tony's, arguing about sex, life, literature, drama, and what is a true gentleman. Playing poker, croquet on the lawn that turned so violent they smashed windows. Then on to Helen Morgan's club for a nightcap.
My book of poems, Enough Rope, was a huge success.
The critic says she was another A.A. Milne.
Robert Benchley called her Dottie the Pooh.
Oh, listen to this review from The Nation.
Enough Rope is caked with salty humor, rough with splinters of disillusion, and tarred with the black, bright authenticity.
The New York Herald said it was like drinking straight whiskey.
Humor that is smart and fashionable. Whiplash tongue.
My view of this sudden popularity. There is poetry and there is not. And mine was not. Oh, it was merely doodads. I was just tired of being a smartass. I wanted to write fiction instead. I mean real fiction, serious fiction. I wanted to write plays. Oh, but Harold Ross asked me to write book reviews for The New Yorker.
The New Yorker is a suave and sophisticated magazine.
Adult comic book for the upper class.
Not written for the old lady in the book.
Dottie wrote her tart book reviews. Sinclair Lewis called her Sparkplug Dottie for nothing.
I called my book review column The Constant Reader. I wrote, quote, Ernest Hemingway is far and away the best American writer. He is exciting because he is so clean. The simple things he does looks easy to do, unquote. I was trying to be kind to Ernest.
She was not kind to Margot Asquith's autobiography.
The 4-part autobiography of English Countess Margot Asquith. The affair between Margot Asquith and Margot Asquith will live to be one of the prettiest love stories in all literature.
This book was written without fear and without research. It's not something that should be tossed aside, but thrown away with force.
She liked Isadora Duncan.
Oh, Isadora Duncan is not a writer. God knows. Oh, yes, but she was a brave woman, and we will not look upon her likes again.
She disliked Theodore Dreiser.
Words. Theodore Dreiser ought to write nicer. What's worse than Theodore Dreiser? Two Theodore Dreisers.
The House on Pooh Corner by A.A. Milne. The more it snows, Tilly Palm, the more it goes, Tilly Palm. The more it goes, Tilly Palm, on snowing.
Tiddly what? Said Piglet. Palm, said Pooh. I put that in to make it more hummy.
Oh, and that is the word, hummy. My darlings, it was the first place in the House of Pooh Corner at which Constant Reader throwed up.
She missed a lot of deadlines. Her copy was due every Friday. On Sunday, Harold Ross with the New Yorker would phone her. I can just visualize his white knuckles gripping the telephone.
You mean it hasn't arrived yet?
I'll send it right over. I'm sorry. Someone is using my pencil.
It's almost finished.
She's too fucking busy.
Or was it vice versa?
Actually, I hadn't started it yet. I know what Harold was thinking. She's such a perfectionist. She hates writing. Oh, she's drunk, or all three. Oh, that wasn't the reason at all. I couldn't figure out how to change my typewriter ribbons.
So she went out and bought a new Corona typewriter.
In 1929, the New York Stock Exchange was in perilous trouble. Prohibition wasn't working. The Nazis in Germany were on the rise. Oh, Sacco and Vanzetti were executed. Two innocent Italian immigrants whose only sin was that they were anarchists. I continued to have affairs with married men and write doodads, and everything crashed on October 6, 1929.
That's about the time that Dorothy Parker, the Lady Beaumont, the Greenwich Village poetress, stopped being funny. She published her first book of short stories.
I love everything in this order. Dogs, stray cats, abused horses in Central Park, whiskey, oh yes, that is Johnny Walker Black Label, men who are young and ruthless and stupid. I prefer Gentiles. And my typewriter. Oh, no, I take it back. My typewriter comes first. I hated writing. Oh, but I loved my typewriter. 29, I published 2 short stories in the Bookman.
Big Blonde, about a woman named Hazel Morris, in her 30s, an ex-wife and an ex-wholesale garment model, a swell drinker, a dog lover, an unsuccessful suicide. Men liked her because she was a lot of fun.
Sounds a bit autobiographical.
Big Blonde won the O. Henry Memorial Prize for the best short story appearing in a magazine.
I won $500. Oh, and Big Blonde Hazel was always the party girl. By the 30s, her body had turned to alcoholic fat. One day, Hazel Morse takes pills, falls into a coma, only to be discovered by her part-time maid Nettie.
Mrs. Morse lay on her back, one flabby white arm flung up, the wrist against her forehead. Her stiff hair hung intentedly along her face. The bed covers were pushed down, exposing a deep square of soft neck and a pink nightgown, its fabric worn uneven by many launderings. Her great breasts, freed from their tight confiner, sagged beneath her armpits. Now and then, she made knotted snoring sounds, and from the corner of her open mouth to the blurred turn of her jaw ran a lane of crusted spittle.
Hemingway told me that to be a writer, you have to be a bit of an outlier, almost a gypsy. In at least 28 ways, Mrs. Morse was me. I was Mrs. Morse. Say what you want about my lonely, pointless life, but when I wrote Big Blonde, I wrote the truth.
So, after the doctor was called and Hazel was revived, Hazel asked her maid Nettie for a drink.
Maybe, thought Mrs. Morse, when you have been knocked out for a few days, your first drink would give you a lift. Maybe whiskey would be your friend again. She prayed without addressing a God, without knowing a God. Oh, please, please let her be able to get drunk. Please keep her always drunk.
31, I published my third book of poems, Death and Taxes, with the steadfast theme that the good things will always, always turn out bad.
Drink and dance and laugh and lie, love the reeling midnight through, for tomorrow we shall die. Alas, we never do. My land is rare of chattering folk, the clouds are low along the ridges, and sweet the air with curly smoke from all my burning bridges.
I was 34 years old, still had my looks, could still hold my liquor. I still had my figure and these great girlish dark eyes. And those burning bridges with those gold-plated boyfriends, polo players, he-haws, and lowbrow stockbrokers, who never heard of James Joyce. All my frog princes emblazoned in my heart.
But she couldn't remember their names. The sun's gone down and the moon's turned black, for I loved him and he didn't love back.
Oh, that's referring to my addictive affair with James Wiley Garrett II.
People who do things exceed my endurance. God, for a man who solicits insurance.
Did he sell insurance?
Oh, no, but I love the Roman numerals after his name. Unfortunately, he didn't love me back. He left me in Guadalajara, Mexico. He left me at the airport, drove away with my car, my dog, and I never saw my dog, my car, or James Wiley Garrett II again. December 1933, Prohibition ended. My favorite speakeasy closed. But Prohibition never interfered with my drinking anyway. I felt like mud. I wasn't writing any more stories for the New Yorker. When someone knocked on my door, I would yell out, "What kind of fresh hell is this?" One night, I drank an entire bottle of shoot polish.
Strike 3. Call an ambulance.
Reserved the same room at the Presbyterian.
I called my room Bedpan Alley. By that time I knew paganism was not a true religion. Then after I got out of the hospital, something wonderful happened. MGM offered me a contract to write screenplays.
Did you take it?
Did you ask yourself, what would Abe Lincoln do?
Robert Benchley introduced me to a young man named Alan Campbell. He's half Jewish and half Scottish.
Not another insurance salesman.
Oh, yes, another young, stupid, and ruthless one. Only he was an actor. Cinematic, handsome, blonde. Half Jewish, half Goy. Oh, my dear, just like me. And to everyone's astonishment, I married him.
He was 11 years younger than you. He 29 and you 40.
He could cook. He could clean up dog shit and keep the cigarette boxes full. He me that we could have 17 dogs. You can never have enough dogs.
He was after your money.
Oh, I didn't have any money, only uncashed checks. Oh, money was like snowflakes. It just kept melting away.
He drank.
Oh, and I didn't. Which reminds me, I could use a refill. You got any ice? Never mind.
He was bisexual.
Oh, good. Heterosexuality isn't normal anyway. It's merely common.
Alan Campbell probably found another Cupid doll his own age.
He did several times.
He couldn't write worth a damn.
Oh, yes, he could. Because he had me. We formed a writing team. MGM paid Mr. Dorthy Parker $300 a week to write screenplays, and Mrs. Dorthy Parker $1,500 a week. Oh, in those days, that was a lot of money. No more writing those silly poems about broken hearts. Oh, we bought a house in Beverly Hills and lived happily ever after.
Really?
No, not really. As you know, I don't have much success with men. There are no happy endings. Al and I, we got a divorce, and then we remarried, and then we got separated, and then he killed himself, committed suicide, barbiturate poisoning, a probable suicide, the coroner said. Oh, after that, I left Los Angeles and moved straight back to New York where I belong. I kiss the pavement. It's Mother Earth to me. Oh, Robert Benchley once told me that eventually we turn out to be the very person we despise. Here I am, boring, fuddled old lady, and failing eyesight and living with a poodle in a furnished hotel room on 44th Street. The sun hasn't even gone down yet, and I'm already pie-eyed.
It was just a bad case of writer's block.
Oh, no, everything about me belongs in the past.
You've written plays.
Oh, yes, like the last play, Ladies of the Corridor. It closed after 51 performances.
You could always write funny verse again.
I'd rather stick a pencil in my eye.
You wrote book reviews for The New Yorker.
Oh, yes, but I can't read. I can't see.
You still have copyrights and royalties.
Oh, yes, I know, but I can't remember where I put the checks. They're around here somewhere. Oh, I am working on one final piece. It goes on my tombstone. Here, can you read this?
Epitaph. Here lies the ashes of Dorothy Parker, 1893 to 19, ? An unpracticing Jew and Episcopalian. Also, humorist, writer, critic, defender of civil rights.
Yes, all true. I'm leaving everything I have to Martin Luther King Jr., although I've never met him yet. Oh, I would like to be burned up and then buried in a memory garden in Fernhill Cemetery in New York. And the tombstone will read, I am 71 come August. I shall shortly be losing my bloom. I've experienced zephyr and raw gust and symbolical flood and zamoom. When you come to time of atonement, to this passing from summer to fall, it is manners to issue a statement as to what you've got out of it all. So I'll say, although reflection unnerves me, and pronouncements I'll dodge if I can, that I think, if memory serves me, there's nothing more fun than a match.
But don't you think that's kind of long for a tombstone, Dottie?
How about something shorter?
Oh, well, how about this? Excuse my dust. And at the very bottom, in very small print, if you can read this inscription, you are standing too close. Oh, it's twilight in New York.
Twilight is a good time.
If you can make it through the twilight, you can make it through the night.
All her hours were like yellow sand, blown in foolish whirls and tassels, sifting warmly through her hands, patted into little castles.
Shiny day on shiny days, tumbling in a rainbow clutter, as she flipped them all away, sent them spinning down the gutter.
Leave for her a red young rose. Go your way and save your pity. She is happy, for she knows that her dust is very pretty.
Whispering trees above, night, bringing you nearer, dearer and dearer.